to the devastating Iranian attack on an Israeli hospital. Here was the moment the Iranian strike hit Soroka Hospital in Beersheba in southern Israel during the morning hours. This is a war crime. Israel has only been targeting Iranian nuclear and military sites, while Iran has deliberately been killing civilians. This hospital strike just hours ago is the most devastating act of destructive intent so far, and it shows this evil regime has to be stopped. Dozens have been injured. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded tonight, warning that this morning Iran's terrorist tyrants launched missiles at Soroka Hospital in Beersheba and at a civilian population in the centre of the country. He says, we will exact the full price from the tyrants in Tehran. And Israeli President Isaac Herzog said this hospital cares for Israelis of all faiths, even Palestinian neighbours. And he wrote on social media, a baby in intensive care, a mother by their bedside, a doctor rushing between beds, an elderly resident in a nursing home. These were some of the targets of Iran's missile attacks on Israeli civilians this morning. Iran claims it was targeting an IDF base, yet there's no military facility nearby. And this was the chaos that unfolded inside the hospital when the strike hit. Israelis are paying with their lives, learning that even a hospital is no longer safe in order to fight Iran on behalf of the West. Because while Iran has its missiles trained on Israel, death to America is one of its slogans, and it despises the values that embody Western civilization. But the more crucial point is this. If Iran is prepared to deliberately hit an Israeli hospital to kill the injured and sick, then imagine what they do with a nuclear weapon. They wouldn't hesitate to use a nuclear bomb against innocent people, all to promote their Islamist revolutionary agenda. Now, just last night, Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister Sharri Markson said on this show that if Iran keeps killing innocent civilians, then Israel would consider eliminating the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And Trump has declared that he's safe, but Israel hasn't. So here's what Sharri said.
This is not right now one of our aim, but if they push it, we cannot promise what will happen also afterwards.
And with this shocking attack on Israel's hospital today, just in the past few hours, this firmly puts on the table the possibility that Israel could decide to take out the supreme leader. Because Israel can't simply sit back while Iran now hits hospitals. Already after it first sponsored the October 7 massacre and the terrorism of Hezbollah. There's been enough loss and tragedy. Well, the signs are now that Trump is preparing to strike Iran imminently. He's privately approved the attack plans that would be carried out, but he hasn't given the final order, at least publicly. And of course, he's giving no public indication of when this could or will happen. He's keeping the world, especially Iran, on edge.
I may do it, I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble. You know, war is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress. And we'll see. The next week is going to be very big. Maybe less than a week. Maybe less.
And Trump is saying he'll make a decision a second before. But Israel is hardly sitting back waiting for the United States. Overnight, it destroyed another 20 military targets in Iran, continuing its incredible military and intelligence success during this war. And it's a success that naturally impresses Trump. And he is likely, in my view, to order the B-2 bombers with the bunker buster bombs to hit the Fordo nuclear site and potentially another. And he'll do this despite the hysterical public protests from anti-Americans who claim to be American first. And the most prominent of these is Tucker Carlson. Tucker is dressing up his anti-Western views as diehard MAGA, when it's the exact opposite. In intelligence circles, he's considered a pawn and propaganda tool of Russia's. But we know that he defends Russia and Iran, two of the countries that form the axis of evil and seek to overturn democracy and American dominance. It's a point Ted Cruz called him out on in their interview that dominated political circles globally today.
I don't understand. For some reason, you are really invested in defending Russia, and I don't get that. I'm not attacking you with that. I'm genuinely, I don't get why you're so passionate about defending Russia.
That was a messy interview where the promo snippet didn't look good for Ted Cruz, even though it was a gotcha question about the population size of Iran.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
Well, why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
Messy, like I said. Now, Tucker employs the journalistic technique of interrupting every sentence, not letting him finish a sentence with an incredulous question or accusation, seeking to undermine Cruz's statements and make him look stupid to the audience. And, you know, it's a classic technique. The ABC do it all the time. But over the course of the interview, Ted Cruz did call out Tucker's hypocrisies and anti-Western views. And Cruz does have the moral authority, not Tucker Carlson.
So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership and trying to take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America much safer.
Exactly. Young Israelis are fighting America's enemy for it. They are shouldering the burden of this fight. All that's asked of Trump is to deploy the bunker busters to take out the nuclear sites that are too deep underground. Now, Ted Cruz also called out what he claimed, and I agree with, was his weird obsession with Israel.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question: what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now. Senator,
you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
That is exactly what you just said.
And as you know, Trump already described Tucker as kooky this week. Well, influential figures like Steve Bannon are now starting to say that MAGA will follow Trump with whatever he decides to do.
President Trump decides to do that, I know, and particularly his skills as a communicator, that he will come and walk people through it. In the MAGA movement, look, there'll be some, but the vast majority of the MAGA movement go, look, we trust your judgment. You've walked us through this. We don't like it. In fact, maybe we hate it, but we'll get on board.
And it's true, and it's a good thing that Bannon is now backing in Trump. It indicates this is the action Trump is going to take. And it's right. Voters will and should trust Trump's judgment. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is still refusing to surrender, a point he made in a nationwide television address.
The Iranian nation will not surrender to anyone aiming to impose anything on it. the damage to America, if it gets militarily involved, would be an irreparable damage, no doubt.
But the time for talks and negotiation has passed. Trump made that clear when Putin offered to broker a deal between Iran and America. Trump told him to sort out his own ceasefire first.
I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later.
And it's interesting because when not even Putin is taking Iran's side, I mean, he was offering to mediate, so he's not even taking Iran's side. It's an indication of just how isolated the Islamic Republic is, which makes it even more bizarre why Penny Wong kept implying there was an equivalence between Iran and Israel. In refusing to explicitly endorse Israel's fight against Iran, the Albanese government has been extremely out of step with the international community. And Penny Wong has even had to change her language over the past week to slightly strengthen her criticism of Iran, yet she still can't endorse Israel's actions. And on Sunday on Insiders, she urged both Israel and Iran to de-escalate. She even had a phone conversation with the Iranian foreign minister. Yet, as far as I know, she didn't speak to Israel. She's shattered the relationship with Israel. University of Melbourne professor of political science Timothy Leach wrote about the absurd foreign policy position of the Albanese government in a brilliant article today. He said that the Albanese government is prone to Wongism, the belief that negotiation and restraint is the solution to every conflict. Wongism. He says we've lost the stomach for armed confrontation and have defunded the Australian military to prove it. And I think that puts it so well. It explains the bizarre refusal of Albanese to invest more in defence when every other major country around the world accepts this necessity. And most are not even on the front line of an aggressive China like we are. Now, in the article, Timothy Lynch also writes, did Israel just call a halt to all that? This little liberal democracy, which is 10 times smaller than the state of Victoria, has done more to advance the rights progressives demand, gender equality, LGBTQI, liberation, religious freedom, than an Iranian theocracy designed against them. And Timothy even praises Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for his contribution to civilizational flourishing. He writes, few democratic leaders ended the careers and lives of more fascists than Thatcher after 1982 and Netanyahu since last weekend. But it is their detractors who claim to be principled anti-fascists. They're detractors who claim to be principled anti-fascists. Isn't that brilliantly put? And that's been the absurdity of the Albanese government's position this entire time. They've preferred to take the side of Islamist regimes that oppose everything the progressive left supposedly stand for, instead of backing Israel, which is on the right side of history. Donald Trump knows this, that Israel's on the right side of history. Yet he is under pressure from the Republican isolationists. Trump's decision on whether to support Israel in eliminating nuclear sites should not be driven by the narrow, reactionary lens of the MAGA ethos. It should be made with the knowledge that he has the power to restore global stability with a move of such consequence that will cement his legacy. Trump can be the president who ends Iran's nuclear weapons program, a feat that eluded many others. It would also be supported by international leaders. If he chooses to do this, he'll be elevated in the history books to a figure of political courage and greatness. If he chooses not to do this, he'll earn a reputation for cowardice, already reflected in his nickname, Taco. Trump always chickens out. The Pentagon is currently getting its ducks in a row. The military arsenal and infrastructure are almost in place in preparation for the American strikes, and they could be as soon as Friday night or this weekend. Despite the pressure mounting, I expect the president will make the right call, and I think he already has.